Now we are doing fractions. So you learned fractions before, right? So we have things like that. What kind of fractions? How would you write usually? Let's review some of the fractions, right? So we will write a what? Like 2 over, say, 5. You will do, the top one is what? Numerator. The bottom one we'll call it what? Denominator. Right? Then, if I write a 2/5, it's a fraction. It means what? Part of whole. Usually, part of whole, we call it a fraction. A fraction of things, only portion of things, right? We can write it. Normally, it's a part of whole. So that would be what? Proper way of doing that, part of whole. So we call it like 2/5. We call it what? Proper fraction. Only part of it, right? But sometimes we write a what? 5/2. It's not the only portion, not a part of a whole anymore, which is what? More than a whole. So, but it's still fraction style if we write a line between. So we call them what? Improper fraction, right? So, what happened for this one? If you say 2 over 2, then portion of it, numerator is less than denominator is proper. Numerator is bigger than the denominator, it becomes what? Improper. How about this? 2 and 2. 2 over 2. You will think it's proper or improper. We will classify that way. Because 2 over 2 is what? Actually, it's 1. No longer part of the whole. Portion of it. Fraction of it. So this one we will say it's improper as well. Okay? So let's see. We do it formally. What kind of things we call it a fraction? So definition we say this way. A fraction is what? We call it a quotient, right? A quotient of 2 numbers. Is that right? 2 numbers, either big one or small one. And another kind of number, so another kind of number besides proper fractions and improper fractions, we also have something called what? Mixed number. What kind of things we call it mixed numbers? It means mixed, right? If I write a 3 and 1/2 with one proper fraction, but I mixed it with what? A whole number, we call this one what? Mixed number, right? So for mixed number, 3.5, if I have 3.5 pies, it means how many half pies I have, right? Because it's a half. So if I have 3.5 pies, so each one of the pie I can cut a half because it's half, right? So if I change a mixed number to a fraction style, how it will look like. So what do? You do 3 times 2. 3 of them times those 2, right? So 3 times 2 is what? 6. Then you plus 1 more, so it's a 7.5. So we just changed from mixed number to a what? To an improper fraction, right? At the same time, if I have 7.5, how can I change it back to mixed number? right? I have 7 halves. So what do? You do 7 divided by 2. So you do this way, 7 divided by 2, which is 3, right? So left over remainder 1. So you have 3 of 2, 3 whole. So you write a 3 whole. Then left over remainder 1 over 2. That's how we change what? Between improper fractions and mixed numbers, right? Change the mixed number to improper fractions, you multiply and add the remainder. Then from improper fractions, change it to mixed number, you divide them and put quotient here and put the leftover remainder over your divisor, right? So, another thing we wanted to talk about, that's the definition of a quotient, right? Another thing we want to talk about is prime numbers. What are prime numbers? A prime number has exactly 2 factors, 2 divisors. What are we talking about? Okay, so let's look at the numbers. So we start to look at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on, right? Then we evaluate them, check on them, see who is the prime number, who is not. Okay, we say the prime numbers are with what? 2 divisors. That means 2 numbers can divide into it, right? 1 only have 1, you don't count, right? So how about 2? Which 2 numbers can divide into 2? You can use 1 and 2, right? 3 would be what? 1 and 3, right? How about 4? Besides 1 and 4, you have what? 2 can go in there, right? So every number you will have 1 can go into it. But another number, if itself can go into it, then you only have 2 numbers. If you have another number to go into it, then it's no longer a prime, right? So what we are talking about, say, a prime number means what? It only has 2 divisors, which are what? Only have 2 numbers, which are 1 and itself, right? So let's take a look. It's 5, 2 is prime number, 3 is, 4 is not, right? 5 is only 1 and 5. How about 6? No, you have 1, 2, 3, 6. How about 7? Yes. 7, 8? No, it has 1, 2, 4, 8. 9? No, it has what? 1 and 9 and 3. 10? No. If ending with 0, you always have what? 2. So when you end with what? If it's even number, you will always be divided by 2, right? So 10, no. Next number, 11, yes. 12, no. 13, yes. Right? 14, even number, no. 15, no. 16, no. 17, yes. Right? 18, no. 19, yes. 20, no. 21, no. 3 and 7. 22, even, no. 23, yes. Right? 24, no. An even number. 25, no. 26, no. 27, 3 and 9, no. 28, an even number, no. 29, yes. Okay, 30, no. 31, yes. So you evaluate this way. So we talk about what is quotient, which is a fraction. Then we talk about prime numbers. Why do we need to learn prime numbers for fractions? You'll find out why. Okay? Let's look at the next one. So, for fractions, what do? We do the simplest way. We try to make it simpler, right? So for fractions, we don't want to have it too complicated. So the basic skills you will learn is what? Simplify, add, subtract, and multiply and divide. Okay, those are basic skills you need to learn. So let's do simplifying first. To write it simple, right? So 12 and 42. How do we simplify? We say both can be divided by 2, right? So can go into it. And so if it's like 2/4, what do? Is 2/4 same as 1/2? They are the same, right? But which one is simpler? 1/2. So we leave the answer as 1/2, right? How do we simplify it? Because 2 can go into both, so you use 2 divided by. All those numbers usually you use as a what? Use prime number to check. So you divide it by 2 for 12 over 42. That would be what? 6 over 21. Then you check 2 again. Doesn't work. Then you check 3. Okay, one at a time. You just divide them, so you will end up with 2/7. So that would be the answer. Okay, another way of doing is this way. You don't need it for fractions, just numbers, but later on you need it for algebra. Okay, another way of doing is what? We say 12, you do the trees, right? So it's a 3 and 4. 4 is 2, 2. So you write a what? 12/42 equals what? So let's write here. 12/42. So 12 is what? 2 times 2 times 3. And 42 would be what? Okay, 2 and 11. That would be 3 and 7. So you write, so you circle the tree leaves, the bottom one. Tree trunk in the middle, just temporary. We don't need to use. So we write 437, right? Take a look. 2 times 3 is what? 6. 6 times 7 is what? 42. If you do that, you find out, oh, 2, 2 cancel. 3, 3 cancel, right? Then you will end up with what? 2, 7. So are they the same? You can do either way, but we just need to do those simpler way. Then later on, you use those prime numbers for algebra. You need those. Let's see the next one. So what do you think? Big numbers. So what do we do? How to make it simpler? So you check by prime numbers, and would be the easiest way. So you take a look. Can I go with 2? Can go into both. Both are even numbers, so I do 2. So that would be what? 84 over 96, right? Then you check again. Can 2 go into both? Yes. So you do that again. 84 divided by 2. You have to actually divide it, right? 48. Then, if you can see 6, you can just use 6 directly to do it, okay? So instead you do 42 divided by 6, 7, that's 8, right? That would be your answer. If you don't see the 6 right away, you can do 2, then you can do 3. 2 and 3 is 6. Or you can do it directly. So we just reviewed what? Make the fractions simpler, right? Then we are going to do add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Let's do the multiplication and division first. So if I have 3/4 times what? 7/12. So for multiplication, for fractions, what do? We multiply straight cross, right? So usually we multiply straight cross. Let's take a look. If I multiply that straight cross, what will happen? I will have what? 48/21, right? It's a big number. Then you have to check. Can I make it simpler? Yes, you can. By divided by 3, you end up what? 7 and 16, right? However, you will do this way instead. Actually, that's what we do. Because you have to simplify at the end, so you simplify at the beginning. See if you can make a number simpler before you multiply straight cross, right? So you find out 3 can go into both. Then, after that, you multiply straight cross. So do you get the same answer? Which one looks simpler? The second one, right? So, we will do what? We will simplify first, not simplify. We say what? Cross cancel first, if we can, right? We say the multiplication, you only use one rule, multiply straight cross, but you probably prefer to do doing the cross cancel first to make the number simpler. Otherwise, you still have to simplify at the end. Then you get a big number. Next one. Oops, not the regular fractions. Then how can we do straight cross? You cannot do that. We said that's the rule you have to follow. So what do you need to do? We need to change what? The mixed number to improper fraction. How do we do that? 5 times 4, 20 plus 1, 21 over 4, right? And 24 is not regular fractions, so we can multiply straight cross. So what do we need to do with that? You put a 1 underneath, right? After that, before we multiplying, what do? Cross cancel if you can. So 6 times that, 126, right? But if you do that way, give me that answer. I will deduct you a point. Why? Is that simplest form? Not quite. You need to write 126, right? So before we cross cancel, multiply straight cross, what do we need to do? Also, we will what? Change the what? Mixed number to what? To the improper fraction, right? So we will do that accordingly. So that's called That's how we do multiplication, right? How do we do division? If you can do multiplication, you can do division. So, this is a division. So how do we do division? We cannot divide number with number, fraction with fraction. Division we need to do is what? We change division to multiplication, then flip the second number, right? So for division, we say we do what? Multiply it be what? Reciprocal. What does a reciprocal mean? It means flip. But we have to make a fraction first. So we have to change what? Mixed number to improper fraction. So 5 times 4, 20, plus 3, 23. Right? So before we flip, 11 times 2, 22, plus 1, 23 over 2. Now, for division, you can change division to multiplication and multiply the reciprocal of the second term. First one, you keep it. Second one, you flip. It's called reciprocal. Right? Then, before you multiply straight cross, what should we do? Cross cancel first. Right? And these two numbers, 2 and 1. So your answer should be, multiply straight cross now, you should have 1/2. Are we good? Next one, fractions, right? If you have this line, it's a fraction. Does it look complicated? Right, so we call it complex fraction. Then we want to write it as a single simple fraction. How should we do that? If we write it this way, we know this line means what? Division. So if you write it this way, does it look better? Right. Then we say for fractions, you have to divide the fractions. Pure fraction style. 2 times 2, 4, 4 plus 1, right? Then you will change division to multiplication, then do the reciprocal on the second term. Then for the whole number 20, you put a 1 underneath. Then you can multiply. Don't use multiplication, use this anymore because it looks like X. So for multiplication, we either use this or sometimes we use the computer symbol. Before multiply straight cross, what do? Cross cancel. 4 times 2, 8 over 1. But you will write the answer as what? 8. Right? Oh, next one is 5. My paper says 6. Just change it. Now we include the signs. So for bunch numbers, fractions, you multiply together with different signs. You take care of the signs first. Okay? We say even number of negative, the result will be positive. Odd numbers of negative, it will end up what? Negative. So negative and positive, negative. Then you cross cancel. That would be your number. Right? This one, both are, not both, just one of them is mixed number. So we will change a mixed number to what? Improper fraction. 2 times 2, 4, plus 1 is 5 halves, right? Then divided by this. Then what do? Change division to multiplication, right? Can we cross cancel? Not really. Then that would be it, right? So negative times negative is positive. And multiply straight cross, 25 over 8. You can write the answer this way, or you can change it back to mixed number. 25 divided by 8 is what? 324. Remainder 1, you can write it this way. Okay. Either way, computer will take it. But usually we just write it in improper fraction. Because mixed number like multiplication sometimes. Then so we keep it as improper fraction. Now let's take a look the addition and subtraction. So what do you think? Same denominators, right? So if I say 6 pesos plus 5 pesos, I have 11 pesos, right? So if you have same denominator, you have 11 of those over the same denominator. You will keep the denominator the same. Or you can write 1 over 4/7 as a mixed number. Either way is fine. What happens if you have different denominator? What do? You have to make it the same. If I have, say, 7 pesos plus $3, you cannot put it together. You either change pesos to dollars or change dollars to pesos, right? So you have to make the denominator common ground the same way before you can combine your numerators. So we use what? LCD, right? We call it. Between 8 and 5, what do you use? You will use 40, right? How do you make 8 to 40? You multiply by 5. If you do the top, you do the same thing on the bottom, vice versa, right? So you multiply 5, you multiply 5 to 7. And from 5 to 40, you multiply by what? 8. Then you will multiply the top by 8. That would be 24. Then what do? You combine the top. You have the same units now. So 35 minus 14 would be 11. So that would be your answer, right? How about this one? What kind of denominator you will use? If you look at that, oh, you say, okay, I probably can use 180 because 180 can, 10 and 180 can go into both. Then you say, okay, this times 10, that would be 50. This time 18, that would be what? 56 and 126, right? Then you say, I have the same denominator now. I can just put it together, 176. Is that right? However, can you leave the answer that way? Not quite. You need to simplify, right? So you divide it by 2. So what do you have? 88 over 90. Then you can simplify more, divided by another 2. You got a what? 44, 45, right? You can do that. However, let's see. What, 18 and 10, it would be what? The LCD actually is 90 because 18 can go into 95 times, 10 can go into 99 times. So if we do that, that would be what? Go into 5 times, that would be 25. Go into 9 times, that would be 63, right? So if you put it together, 25, 63, that would be 88 over 90. Still, we need to make it simpler. So we can divide it by 2. It ends up 44 over 45. Are they the same? Which one looks simpler? The second one, right? How come? Because you use smaller denominator, which we call LCD, least common denominator, and make things simpler for us to do. But if you use 180 common denominator, it will still work. But sometimes the number gets really big. Let's look at next one. You can do number with number, fraction with fraction, but you have to take care of extra things. So let's just do it this way. Just change everything become improper fractions, then do the LCD. So you only need to do one way. Make your situation easier sometimes. So let's change them to improper fractions. 3 times 8, 24, plus 3, 27, right? And this number, next one, 2 3/4. So 2 times 4, 8, plus 3, 11, right? Then, which LCD will we use? 8, right? Will we use 8? Then, because 4 can go into 8, you don't have to multiply them, 32, big number. So, that one is 27. Then from 4 to 8, you multiply by what? 2. So that would be 22, right? So we have LCD, we put it together, would be 49. That would be your answer. Or you can change it to improper fraction again. That would be 6 and 1/8. Either way, I think a computer will be okay with it. Let's look at the next one. Let's just change to improper fraction for the first one, both, right? 4 times 3, 12, plus 2, 14. Right? Next one, minus 1 times 4, 4 plus 3, 7/4. Then within these 3 and 4, both are primes. So actually, all you need, just multiply them, right? That's your LCD. So 3 become 12, you multiply by 4, the top would be what? 56. The second one, the 4 times 3, so that would be 21, right? Then put it together, 56 minus 21, that would be what? 35 and 12. Then you always check if you can simplify it. Can we simplify it? Not this one. So that would be your answer, right? If you change everything becomes improper fraction, all you have to do is what? find the same denominator LCD and combine your top. Then it will be much easier for you to do. Let's look next one. Negative 7/5 plus 2/3. So what's your LCD? Right? Then 5 becomes 15 times 3 minus 21. Negative you can leave outside or move to the top. Either way, but we don't leave on the bottom, right? So usually we just move to the top. And 3 becomes 15. You multiply by 5, that would be 10. Right? Then you put them together, negative 21 and 10, that would be what? Negative number is bigger, so it's a difference, 11 and 15. That would be your answer. You can write the answer as negative 11, 15 outside as well. They are the same. The computer will take both, right? Next one, negative 2/5 plus what? 3/4. So how should we start? They are all proper fractions. We just use the denominator, LCD, which is what? 20, right? 5 becomes 20 times 4. That would be negative 8 here, right? Then 4 becomes 20, we times what? 5. Then top would be 3, 5, would be 15. Then we combine the top. Keep the denominator the same, right? Negative 5 and 15, that would be 7. We are reviewing what? Fractions. How to add and subtract your fraction. And at the same time, you will take care of your signs, right? Next one, 2/3 plus negative 1/2. So your LCD is what? 6, right? 3 becomes 6 times 2, that would be 4. 2 becomes 6, you times 3, right? But you will move the sign to the top. So you can combine the top that way. So keep your denominator, top would be 1/6, right? Look the next one, negative 7 1/18 minus 5/6. Okay, what's your LCD? 18, right? So that's negative 7. This one from 6 to 18, you times 3, that would be 15, right? So then you combine them with 18 as your denominator. Top would be negative 7 minus 15. That would be what? Both are same signs. Combine 7 and 15, 22 with negative number, right? And do we leave the answer that way? No, because we can simplify. So that would be negative 11 over 9. That would be your answer. Are we good? I'm going to skip the part 3 on page 8. We will talk about those a little bit later. Okay? So just leave there. Let's see next part. We are on the page 9. Part 4, it says the order of operations. That means when we do the operations, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, we have to follow certain order, right? And for one problem, same problem, we should have same answers. That's math. It's not say, you express your own opinion. It doesn't work that way. So, for math, we should all arrive same answer. So, for this one, if I have add and multiply, so if one person does this one first, 6 plus 5 is what? 11 times 7, end of 77. If another person does this one first, 5 times 7, 35, plus 6, you end up what? 41. It has different answers. We cannot do that in math, okay? So we have to decide which way we need to do. So we are going to, for math, we are going to do multiplication first, then do addition. So we don't do this way. So the sequence is this way, okay, certain way. So what do? We will do the grouping first, group first, okay? So do the groups. What kind of things are groups? We have what? Parentheses, bracket, or curly bracket, or the division symbol, right? So what we will do would be, we will simplify whatever your group symbol is, then you simplify the inside the group because they are together first. So you will simplify inside group symbols, right? And also remember to simplify whatever above and below your fraction bar, because a fraction bar means a group symbol, okay? Fraction bar separately. Then we will do next one called exponents. We just review the exponents, right? And something called roots. You don't have to worry about that for now. And we do it in next course. Next one, so the sequence is this way. We will make things simpler to do it. So we will do the simplest one the last. So simplest one is what? Plus and minus, addition and subtraction. So we will do that the last from what? The sequence is from left to right. Then we do next one, a little bit more complicated. It's multiplication and division, then from left to right. So then next one, it's more complicated. It's exponents and roots, then the grouping. But when you try to do the operation, you want to make it simpler and to finish. So you make a complicated situation simpler first, then make it simpler, then resolve it the simplest at the end. So in high school, you learn this. It's called what? Pandas. It's a little bit misleading. It says what? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? But for you do parentheses, grouping first, then exponents, and multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. But when you have multiplication and division, it didn't tell you from left to right. So often you make a mistake that way. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So sometimes I would say what? please excuse dear my Sally Ann, right? So, besides this, remember if you use this, you need to do what? From left to right. Okay, let's do some more exercise. If 3 plus 5 times 2, what do you think you would do first? Grouping. 3 plus 5 is what? 8. So 8 times 2, that's how you do, right? For this problem, often you will see, oh, I will do multiplication first. That would be 6. Then 60 divided by 6 end up at 10, which is not right. Why? We say for multiplication and division, they are same group, same kind of things, right? You need to do from left to right. So, for same category, you need to follow the sequence from left to right. If you do 60 divided by 3 is what? 20 times 2 is 40. You get a different answer as another way. So we cannot do that. We have to do the same way. Follow the orders. Okay? Follow the rule, same way. Next one, 20 minus 2q plus 3 squared. What do you think we would do? We would do what? Exponents first. So last one is plus and minus. So you will separate with plus and minus, do the last. And you have 3 parts. Then you take care of individual part first. So 2 to the 3rd power, don't give me 6, right? 2 times 3 times is 8. And 3 squared is 9, right? So you do that. Then 20 minus 8 from left to right. Remember that. So 12, 20 minus 8 is 12. 12 plus 9 is what? 21. If you do 8, 9 first, 17, subtract by 20 from 20, then you get different answers. That would not be right. So you need to do from left to right. Same category. Plus and minus, they are in the same category. You need to do that. From left to right, right? For this one, for number 4, absolute value is a group as well, okay? When you put it in bar. So you have to do that first. Absolute value of negative 8 is what? 8. So you will rewrite it like this, right? So for this problem, take a look. If you have plus minus, then you can highlight them and it becomes what? You have 2 different parts. You have to do those parts first. So 7 times 8 is what? 56. 8 divided by 8 is what? 1. So you will have 56 minus 1. Answer is 55. Are we okay? This one, number 5, it looks very complicated, right? So for complicated problem, we need to simplify it first. So how do you make it simpler? You have a bunch parentheses and brackets and absolute values. So what you do is you do it from inside to outside. Okay, so this is the most outer one, right? Then next level would be like here. Then the remaining is inside. So you will do inside first. 9 minus 2 times a group. So within here, don't look too many things at one time. Okay? Focus on the one you are working on from inside. So it's this one. So what do? You will do this first. 1 minus 4 is what? -3. Right? So -3, absolute value of -3 is what? 3, right? So it's better for you just rewrite it. 2 and what? 9 minus 2 and what? Absolute value of -3 is 3 itself, right? So that's your -3 absolute value become 3. Then what do? This is the outside, then this is the inside. So you will do it from inside to outside, right? Within the most inside portion, you have 9 minus 2 times 3. So you will do multiplication first. 2 times 3 is what? 6. Then you do 9 minus 6. That would be what? 3. Okay? Don't do too many things at one time. So you will rewrite it whole thing because oops, not the 3 anymore. Oh yeah, it is. 2 times 3 is 6 and 9 minus 6 is 3. Right? So then what do? 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Just be patient and do it one step at a time. You do need to practice a lot to have hands-on and to see it, to make sure. This one, it looks very complicated, right? But we know the big line means what? Division. And they separate the top and bottom separately. So you need to handle them separately, right? So for the top, you have a bunch of things. Then you will do addition and subtraction in the end, the last, right? So in between, you do other things first. So you will do those last. So 5 is 5. And next one, 6 minus 2 is what? 4. Then absolute value of 4 would be 4, right? Then for next part, 4 squared is what? 4 times 4, 16, right? On the bottom is a separate group, 2 plus 3, which is 5. That's the easy one. Now what do we have? Separated by the fraction bar. You work separately. So 5 plus 4, 9. 9 plus 16 is what? 25 over 5. A fraction, right? Then you simplify at the end. That would be 5. Manageable, right? For next one, same thing. We have fraction. So you work with it separately. Okay? So for the top, it has 2 parts separated by plus sign. So what do we have? For this part, you will do the exponents first before you multiply, right? And -2 squared, -2 is your base. Multiply twice. -2 times -2. It's a positive or negative? Positive. So that's 4, right? Then 4 times 5, that would be 20 plus 45, right? The bottom is what? Negative 8 plus 3, which is negative 5, right? Then we simplify it. Top 20 plus 45 is what? 65. Then divided by negative 5. Positive divided by negative is Is that 65? Oh, I was looking at my answer key. That's why. This is a negative 45. Right? So, 20 plus negative 45, that should be what? Negative 25 divided by negative 5. So, negative divided by negative, positive. 25 divided by 5. So, answer is what? 5. Are we good? Next one, negative 8 plus 5.6. Usually you'll be okay, positive and negative. However, when it's decimals, you will make a mistake. You need to think about how you are going to handle your positive sign and negative sign. So first you decide, do they have same signs? No. If it's not, they are different, you find the difference. But you can only use a bigger number minus smaller number. So you have to put 8 there, put the top, and put a 5.6 on the bottom. And you need to line up what? When you do the decimals, you need to line up your decimal point. Dollar to dollar, dime to dime. Right? So, if you do that, empty spot, you put a 0. Then you subtract. You borrow, that would be 4, that would be 2, 2.4, right? So the answer is 2.4. However, you need to decide the sign because there are different signs there as well. So we say the sign you should use is what? With the larger number, right? You need to sink in with it. Next one, decimal. We say, how do we do decimals? And also with bunch negatives. So what do? We say, when you multiply them, you will handle the signs first. 1, 2, 3 are numbers of negatives. So result should be positive or negative? Negative, right? Then how do we multiply decimals? We just treat it as regular numbers. Then add the decimal position, decimal point at the end, right? So you would do 2 times 3, 6 times 1, 6 times 4, 24. Then you decide how many decimal points do you need. So 1 here, 2 here, and 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you need 5 decimal points, decimal places. So you count it from right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's your decimal position. Then empty places, what do you do? With all the zeros, right? So that would be your answer. So what we have been doing? We were doing what? The order of operations. You follow the orders, right? So let's see next one. We have some variables now. Say evaluate x over y, phi y, phi 1, if x is 1, y is 4. Right? What do we need to do? If you are given the x is 1, y is 4. So what you do is you just plug in those numbers. Y is what? 4, x is 1, right? If it's all positive, you don't have to worry about the signs for the parentheses. Otherwise, you do need to pay attention to it. So we have what? Plug in 1/4 and 5/4. You combine the top over the same denominators, right? Then for a fraction, you always what? Simplify it. So what do we have? Oops. You cannot do 1 is 3, 1 is 2. You have to divide it by same number, right? To simplify. So that will be your answer. Next one. Your x is what? 1, y is -4. See? You have a variable is a negative number. So you better put the parentheses over the variable you are plugging in. Okay? So you can take care of the sign that way. X is 1 minus y is what? -4. See the difference? When you minus a negative number, if you don't put a parenthesis in, you might miss it. Okay? So 14 plus 1. So here we say minus negative number, negative. What do? You do change, right? Become 1 plus 4. The bottom is what? 14 plus 1. Then what do we have? 5 over 15. Then what do you need to do? Simplify, right? Divided by 5. So that would be 1/3. That would be your answer. Right? Next one, take a look. X is what? -7, y is -3. Then you have x squared minus y over 2. Especially situation like this, all negative. Do that first. Put the parentheses around your variable before you plug in. Okay? So, what's your x? -7. So you put it in there. What's your y? -3. Right? Then what do we do? So this is a fraction symbol. Split top and bottom. And you do it separately. So -7 squared, -7 times -7 is a positive or negative? Negative times negative, positive. So it's 49, right? Then minus -3, minus negative. So it means what? Change. You add a 3, right? Over 2. And so that would be what? 49 plus 3 is 52, right? Over 2. Then you simplify by dividing by 2. The answer should be 26. You need to do a lot of practice on the order of operations. So this part we reviewed what? The fractions. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and fractions. And also follow what? The order of operations. You do need to practice, otherwise you don't remember that well. And do your homework.